She drank it every morning, same cup, same blend, same man smiling at her as he handed it over. But what if love isn't love? What if protection is a disguise for the slowest kind of destruction? Pause, sharpen the tone, they say evil wears a mask. But what they don't say is how normal that mask can look, how calm it can seem, how comforting. She trusted him. Not because she was foolish, but because we're taught that family means safety, that a husband protects, that marriage means you're safe. But she didn't know her routine wasn't just predictable, it was vulnerable. And he didn't need a weapon, just a protein shake. Keynote: evil doesn't always announce itself loudly, see? Real evil doesn't show up like it does in the movies. It doesn't barge in through the front door. It walks quietly, tiptoeing through your life in silence. Sometimes the hand that holds you is the same hand that poisons you. Keynote: the ones closest can be the most dangerous. You don't always get betrayed by strangers. No, it's the ones who know your schedule, the ones who know where you leave your toothbrush, the ones who know your habits, your cravings, your daily rituals. That's who you should be watching, because when someone knows your rhythm, they don't just love you, they can manipulate you. And he did, one scoop at a time. Keynote: a smile can hide a strategy. That's the part that chills the spine. Not the poison, the planning, the patience, the fake concern when she got sick, the false comfort as her body shut down. He smiled, he stayed present, he played the role, all while the clock ticked on her life. Expanded Mike Johnson style, evil doesn't knock. It doesn't yell, it doesn't storm into your life with blood on its hands. No, it walks in slow, quiet. Composed, polished, it says I love you, while hiding the blade behind its back. It helps you zip your coat while slipping poison in your routine. It tucks you in at night and watches as you slowly fade in the morning. That's what people don't understand. The most dangerous people aren't the loud ones. They're not the ones throwing fits or raising fists. They're the ones who stay calm under pressure. They smile at funerals, they fake concern, they cry on cue. Because the most effective evil is calculated. Patient, disguised, it doesn't need to scream, it just needs access. Access to your home, access to your trust, access to your blind spots, and once it gets in, it doesn't need to rush. It takes its time, it learns your patterns, your routines, your habits. It waits for the perfect moment, not to strike hard, but to dissolve you quietly. Like a drip in your coffee, a substance in your shake, a lie told sweetly, a motive masked as love. Evil doesn't need chaos to win. It thrives in routine, it hides in normal, it survives in your comfort zone. And it smiles while doing it, because if it's loud, you'll notice, but if it's quiet, you'll hand it the cup yourself. Would you like me to expand the next keynote? The ones closest can be the most dangerous. Expanded Mike Johnson style, it's not always the stranger in the alley. It's not the masked face behind the door. It's not the criminal you've never met. Sometimes it's the one you wake up next to. The one who knows how you take your coffee. The one who kisses your forehead while slowly calculating your fall. See, closeness is access, and access is power, and power in the wrong hands, that's not love, that's leverage. They know where you keep your medicine. They know the password to your phone. They know when you're too tired to question anything, when you're too trusting to think twice, when you're too busy to notice what's missing. And that's when they move, not with rage, not with chaos, but with precision. It's easy to guard yourself against a threat you can see. It's much harder to defend against a threat disguised as loyalty, as commitment, as forever, because you won't see it coming. You won't believe it when it happens, and you'll blame yourself for not catching it sooner. But how could you? You gave your heart to someone who studied it, who memorized your rhythms not to dance with you, but to disrupt them, to use them, and that's the part that cuts the deepest. Not the betrayal itself, but who it came from. Because a stranger's betrayal is an attack, but a loved one's betrayal is an assassination, silent. Strategic, close. Range, not because they hate you, but because they knew they could. And you trusted them with the very thing they would use against you. your openness, your softness, your belief that love was safe. You never expected the knife to come from the hand that once held yours expanded. Mike Johnson style, a smile can warm a room, or it can distract you while the damage is already being done. We've been conditioned to see a smile as safety, as kindness, as proof of good intentions, but that's the mistake. That's the illusion, because some of the most dangerous moves happen behind the friendliest expressions. That's what makes it lethal, not the violence, not the aggression, but the calm, the casual, the composed. A smile isn't always affection. Sometimes it's a cover, a tactic, a way to keep you from asking questions, to make you feel foolish for doubting your gut. Because the moment you feel suspicion, they flash that grin, and suddenly you think you're the problem. But while you were laughing at their joke, they were mixing your drink. While you were melting in their charm, they were erasing the evidence. That's the cruelty of strategy. It looks like sincerity. It plays the long game. It studies your psychology. It learns how to win you just enough to blind you. Some people don't attack you head on. They don't raise their voice. They don't argue. They smile. They compliment you. They listen just enough to use your words against you later. Because manipulation doesn't always sound like control. Sometimes it sounds like care. Sometimes it sounds like, don't worry, I made this for you. Trust me, I'd never hurt you. Relax, you're overthinking, but deep down your body knows you just didn't know how to listen yet. You didn't know that sometimes the most rehearsed performance in the room isn't on a stage, it's across the kitchen table. Smiling, listening, pretending, while slowly pulling strings you didn't even know were there, and by the time you feel the trap closing, they're already steps ahead. Because you weren't fighting back, you were still trusting the smile. Expanded Mike Johnson style, everyone's always watching the words. What someone says, how they say it, what tone they use, what excuses they give, but what if the real answer is in what they don't say? See, silence isn't always peace. It's not always maturity. Sometimes it's a shield. Sometimes it's a warning with the volume turned down. Because when someone goes quiet, when their words shrink, when their energy changes, when the air between you becomes heavy without explanation, that's not just mood. That's movement. People think silence is neutral. It's not. It's loaded. It's layered. It's strategic. It's the space where guilt hides, where truth suffocates, where deception lies just out of reach. You ask a question, they shrug. You express a concern, they say you're overreacting. You bring up what's bothering you, and they deflect with a glance, a pause, or worse, nothing at all. No denial, no explanation, just quiet. That's not just uncomfortable, that's intentional, because silence is the safest language for a guilty soul. It doesn't incriminate, it doesn't get quoted, it doesn't create evidence, but it speaks loud. You feel it in your gut before your mind can explain it. Something's off. The warmth is gone. The eye contact fades. The responses become minimal, mechanical, cold. And still, you second. Guess yourself, because you were taught that silence meant self-control, that silence meant strength. That silence meant everything was fine, but sometimes silence is the crack in the mask, the part where the truth starts leaking out one unspoken word at a time. Because people who have nothing to hide don't hide behind silence. They clarify, they confess, they explain. But when someone's been plotting, when someone's already done the damage, they say less. Not because they don't know what to say, but because saying anything would expose too much. And in that space between what they should have said and what they chose not to, you'll find the real story. Would you like me to now stitch all 4 expanded keynotes into one seamless, cinematic, full-length speech format with intro and transitions? Ask ChatGPT tools